Abby Huntsman, daughter of the presidential candidate John Huntsman, went on MSNBC, The Cycle, and told everybody that millennials are getting a raw deal because oldsters are, I don't know, sucking up all of the Social Security money. Absolutely fictitious, and all the solutions that are being proposed would actually hurt millennials more than they would hurt the older generation, like her father's generation. But she went on and said that this is a terrible deal, and to prove it, she argued that the life expectancy when Social Security was created was whatever 62, and now it's much higher than that. So this is, in fact, the oldest and tiredest misrepresentation of Social Security out there. Yes, life expectancy has increased from 62 to above 65 and well beyond since then, but it's not because people of working age who are eligible for Social Security are aging beyond 65. It's because of infant mortality. This is a known fact. Abby Huntsman goes on and presents herself as a millennial, but word for word, everything she said could have been said by 82-year-old Alan Simpson, who is essentially a paid pitchman for cutting Social Security. The fact is, we know these things. There are actuarial tables, there are economic studies. This is all known. Here's what the deal is. The reason why life expectancy was 62 years in 1938, or whatever it was, low 60s, was because so many children were dying in childbirth or shortly thereafter. There was so much infant mortality that if you averaged in those very tragically short lifespans, it brought the age way down. Once infant mortality was addressed, the average lifespan of the American came within a few years of what it is today. So what do we mean when we say that, when we trot out these numbers to try to convince people to panic, or to convince people that Social Security is in trouble, or that the world has changed dramatically since Social Security was invented? I'll tell you what it means. It means one of two things, and one of two things only. It either means that the person making that argument is extraordinarily ignorant on this topic, literally doesn't know the first thing, because the first thing you learn when you look at life expectancy tables is, what about infant mortality? So either the person is ignorant on this subject, or they're lying and trying to deceive you. Again, it's like with the Cato Institute guy talking about the infrastructure and the Harlem gas explosion. People sometimes say to me, don't you think political discourse has gotten harsh and abrasive and difficult and all those things? My answer is yes, it has. Don't you regret that? People say to me. Don't you find it unpleasant? Yes, I do regret it. Yes, I do find it unpleasant. But what do you do when Abby Huntsman goes on television and says something that's so easily disproved? What do you do in a case like that? You assume one of two things. Either she's going out there and she's absolutely clueless, in which case shame on Abby Huntsman for talking about something she doesn't know about, and shame on MSNBC for putting her out there, frankly. So that's number one. I mean, she looks good on television. She's photogenic. She has a famous father, and in our no longer meritocratic society, all it takes is famous parents, apparently, whether you're Luke Russert or Chelsea Clinton or any of these other people who got there on the strength of last name recognition. So you go out there, you have no idea what you're talking about, and you talk about it anyway. Well, that's wrong. Or you're a right-wing ideologue. You want to follow in your father's footsteps and enter into a political career, and you figure the best way to do it is to make your bones by deceiving millennials about what's really wrong with Social Security, which has been a surefire path to success in the Beltway crowd for a very long time. Either way, I wish I could say something nicer about Abby Huntsman and her misstatements, but I just can't. It's tragic. It's terrible, just like the Cato guy. So where do we go now? Do we another big deception that we hear about Social Security is it's going to crash because all these baby boomers are about to retire and there's no money for those baby boomers. Let me tell you something about baby boomers. The last one was born in 1964. So 1964 to today, that's 50 years. We've had a half century to count baby boomers. So we have had a good count of baby boomers since roughly 1965. We've known how many are out there. That's why people were genuinely concerned about the financial future of Social Security in the early 1980s. It's why Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill got together and negotiated, compromised on a solution that wasn't everything the left wanted, wasn't everything the right wanted, but they came together for a solution that works and still works, essentially. Okay, so here we are. We are today. We worked out the baby boomer problem more than enough in the early 1980s. And a lot of people forget when we worked out that baby boomer problem, we did raise the retirement age. People keep talking about raising the retirement age. We raised it. It's going up. I'm not going to retire at 65. If you're younger than me, which many of you are, you're not going to retire at 65 either. In fact, it's going up to age 67. So that one's been addressed. We've already solved the baby boomer problem. And by the way, I would hearken back to our interview in the last hour with Joe Williams, the reporter who found himself selling shoes at a sporting goods store. Now, Joe Williams talked about the fact in his Atlantic article, which I urge you all to read, that at age 50, he found himself standing on his feet all day and is subject to all sorts of humiliations of having his backpack searched and so on. But standing on his feet all day, he said he found it physically grueling. Imagine how that feels at age 67. Imagine if Joe Williams didn't have his advanced degrees and his media experience, wasn't able to get out of that and fortunately get work as a writer again. He would be going back to that sporting goods store day after day after day as he became 55 and 60 and 65 and 67. Is Joe Williams really the problem with Social Security? I don't think so. In fact, I know otherwise. So let's do this. Let's talk about strengthening Social Security. Let's stop the confusion, the lies, the deception from the people like Abby Huntsman. Let's do more than that. Let's ask MSNBC to publish a retraction, to just tell us, no, Abby Huntsman gave you misinformation, misinterpreted the facts on life expectancy in the United States. Then let's get serious about rebuilding the social safety net for America's seniors, Americans, disabled people, and the rest of us. Why don't we do that, okay? In the meantime, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this. I'm Richard Eskow, and this is The Zero Hour.